Oh, hi! You caught me being disappointed by Halloween costumes. Speaking of bad costumes, let's talk about some Golden Age superheroes with some questionable costume choices. Hello, welcome to Comic Tropes. I'm your host, Chris. Folks, as I'm recording this, it is the spooky season. It's nearly Halloween, a time when people are thinking about costumes. Got me thinking about superhero costumes. And yeah, today, a lot of those looks are very unique. A lot of them are iconic. But I was thinking back to the beginning of superhero comics, the golden age of comics, the 30s and the 40s. Costumes then were a lot more subdued. We're talking mostly people in a suit that might have a domino mask. Guys like the Spirit, or his knockoffs, Midnight, the White Mask. Heck, for a while, everybody was running around looking like the Green Hornet. Nevertheless, I think that I have located some especially egregious costume decisions within the Golden Age. I've got 3 superheroes I want to talk to you about today that had some not wonderful superhero costumes. Some might say they're really, really bad. And the first one I want to talk about is Spider-Widow. Spoiler, she does not dress as a spider. The first superhero that I want to share with you is named Spider-Widow, who I will guess was created by Frank Borth over a bet gone awry. The stories ran from 1942 through 1943, did not last long. They probably ended early because the creator Frank Borth had to enter military service for World War II, and Quality, the publisher, said that they didn't have any work for him when he got back. One of the better-known comics in this book was Doll Man, a guy who could shrink, kind of like the Atom or Ant-Man. This guy came first. Here's a story just before we read Spider-Widow where Doll Man tricks an evil shrinking guy into getting into a cannon, and then he shoots him into the mouth of a shark. Savage. Borth was an underrated artist. Just look at this splash page, and that is a lot of detail. It looks gorgeous, especially for its era. We've got the title, The Spider-Widow, Grandmother of Terror. Well, that's not necessarily the scariest, but let's give it a chance. Her tagline, she weaves a web of justice to trap the insects of corruption. I think we stretched that metaphor to its breaking point, but there's the main character, Miss Diane Grayton. Beautiful, wealthy, and athletic. I have noted that the Spider-Widow was just called athletic, but not an athlete. That doesn't really equate to the same thing. For instance, I could pick up a paintbrush and be artistic. That doesn't make me an artist like Van Gogh, so let's just take that into account. Combats the forces of crime in this new story of adventure in the underworld as the Spider-Widow. Note that she is not the Black Widow, which is the name of an actual dangerous spider, and hey, that's got an adjective and a noun. It sounds a little poetic, the Black Widow. If we say the Spider-Widow, that is very literal. That is a thing. Are we to imply that Miss Diane was married to a spider? I tend to doubt it, but let's read the story and find out. The notorious triggermen of Jake Lardo, and yes, he is overweight, so that's not a very kind name, but it was a different time, are assembled at their waterfront hideout to make plans for the night's activities.
You boys know Hitzer. He wants us to destroy that trainload of oil coming in tomorrow night for shipment to England.
Okay, Jake, we know just the place to dump that job. Next morning, Bob Abelson stops at the stables of the Grayton estate. My Diane, such ambitious for so early in the morning. Just getting in, Robert? Yes, up with a sick friend, you know. Uh-huh, I know. Come in and join me for breakfast, or are they expecting you at home? Some minutes later, over coffee cups. Have you seen the morning headlines? No, but I bet I can tell you what they are. Murder, sabotage, crime, and, oh yes, injustice. Nothing changes, does it? Oh, stop it, Robert. I'm serious.
What do you expect me to do about it? Go out and shoot Hitler?
Well, it's about time somebody did something about it. Diane, that's not bad for 1941 in America. Not bad at all.
Okay, Diane, you do something about it. I'm going home to bed. Oh, what a head.
Perhaps I can. At least I'll try. We cut to a train going over a bridge, and it's sabotaged. The train and all of its occupants are destroyed. A car is seen racing away from the scene of the accident, and it's filled with these criminals we met in the first page. For some reason, one of them is just sitting on the ground.
Don't get sore, Mike. How was I to know all them gas stations is closed? There ought to be a law against that.
Shut up. We've got to get out of here before the state police block the roads. There's a house up there. Come on. We got to get some gas, or else. Diane is just about to join the rest of the household who have been aroused by the fire when... Who's the boss around here? We want some gas, and we want it quick. I beg your pardon, but shut up. I said I wanted 10 gallons of gas. Make it snappy, and don't give us no trouble, see? While the chauffeur is ordered to procure the fuel, Diane slips into the attic storeroom. Those men must be responsible for the train wreck. This is my chance to do something. All I need is this rubber mask and those pets the gardener showed me. We have just seen Diane's origin. She happened to have some criminals break into her house asking for some gasoline, and she decided this was a good chance to run away and put on a rubber witch's mask. And that's the only reason she's fighting crime. She has nothing better to do. Diane races to the thug's car and manages to hide in the trunk before they return. After a wild ride, the car comes to a halt within a hidden garage somewhere along the waterfront. But as the crooks leave the car, a startling figure appears. The crooks talk to each other, and apparently they're doing this all for Hitler. This is just 1 year into the U.S. formally entering World War II, so it's actually kind of the moment for these crooks to be destroying resources that could help Hitler. Now, why would organized crime want to help the Nazis? I can't explain that. Suddenly, a tiny black bundle of viciousness drops to the center of the table and springs up the thug's sleeve. Hey, that was a spider! A black spider! Get it off of me! Get it off! Ah, it bit me! Them black widows is poisonous. Get a doc. Do something. Don't just stand there looking at me. Ain't you gonna help me? Nix, you think we want to get bit? I don't mind shooting it out with the cops, but I can't stand spiders. They do things to me. Look out, there's another one. This is a nice low-angle shot of the spider really threatening the bad guys. They all run away from the spiders and trip down some stairs. And now you've been exposed to her superpower. The Spider Widow can control spiders. How? We are never told. She was given these spiders by the gardener we learned a few panels ago, and she can make them do whatever she wants. As the thugs pick themselves up from the bottom of the stairs, they see an old witch. That is the Spider Widow. And they say, "Howlin' Hitler, who's that?" "Hee hee, they call me the Spider Widow. How do you like my pets? Hee hee." "I got a boss." "Ow." "Not so fast, Grandma. I got a score to settle with you." This is what happens to people who meddle in Jake Lado's business, see? But as Jake's fingers tighten, a swarm of black spiders come forth from the old woman's cloak and sink their fangs into the gunman's hand, and others leap upon his face. Yep, the Spider Widow has decided to dress up like an old witch. There is never anything in any of her stories about witches or having witch abilities or anything to explain why she decided to dress up as a witch when her powers have to do with spiders. Also, over the next several issues, guess what? The same exact story takes place. You see panel after panel of different villains getting spiders on their face, and they instantly just give up or panic. This story ends with the bad guys shooting each other as the Spider Widow simply ducks beneath the guns. The following morning, "Hello, Diane. This is Bob Abelson. Say, if you're still interested in hunting criminals, why don't you take a few lessons from this Spider Widow? You and she ought to get along swell." "I suppose we would, Bob. Know where I could meet her?" Wink. Spider Widow lasted just over a year, but by her fourth story, she was relegated to a sidekick role when the superhero The Raven showed up to rescue her from some Nazis on a boat. The two superheroes kissed at the end, and just a few stories later, Spider-Widow went from being a superhero in her own right to fighting over the Raven with fellow superhero Phantom Lady. Oh, and she didn't even bother to dress up in her outfit or use her spider powers there. They just had a sword fight and then teamed up to help the Raven, who had been shot in the back while watching them fight over him. The next character I'd like to share with you was called The Face because he bought a Halloween mask and wore that around in a regular suit and tie. So the most interesting thing about him was his face. It certainly wasn't his motivation. It wasn't for having any superpowers. Nope, he was just a guy that ran around beating people up. The Face was created by a somewhat obscure creator named Mart Bailey for the lesser-known publisher Columbia Comics, but it did run as a story in their anthology Big Shot Comics from issue 1 through 62, when the publisher finally realized that the mask gimmick was completely unnecessary and had the character continue to fight crime without it until the final issue, number 102. So let's take a look at his first story. Grim and fantastic, composed of the stuff of tortured nightmares. Weird and gruesome is The Face. Who is he? All the underworld would like to know. Is he a criminal? All the enforcing agencies think so, but they lack proof. He comes and goes, grinning an eternal grin, like a nameless shadow, silent and mysterious. Ah! Ah! She fainted. Well, my face isn't any pleasant thing. Ah, her handbag. We're not even done with page 1, and our hero has stolen an innocent lady's purse. Seizing the woman's handbag, the Face prepares for a quick exit. Now to make a getaway before Melissa Sanders recovers. I think the information I want is in her bag. Seated in his car, the Face fumbles at the base of his neck. This rubber mask was made especially for my face. Every curve and bump of my head is followed, so that it fits my features exactly. The man who made it for me died, so none can trace me. And this guy looks happy that the guy that made him this mask died. By the way, the caption box calls this a rubberoid mask, which I'd never heard before, but sure. The mask is so small and compact, it fits easily into a vest pocket. If these people passing by knew me for The Face, they'd tear me to pieces. Tony Trent, you're late again. Hurry, you should be on air. Oh, you're impossible. Hello, Babs. My, what an efficient secretary. Okay, I'm ready. So The Face appears over the radio network as Tony Trent, popular radio commenter. Hello, folks of America. This is Tony Trent of the airwaves coming to you. That food shortage in the city I was telling you about yesterday is no joke. Listen, I got hold of something. The bill of sale from a Western farmer to the city's crime chief, Grudge Grogan, for those turkeys that made the poor orphan asylum children sick this weekend. A lot of early superheroes or their sidekicks would be reporters, and that made sense. These were the people investigating crime, finding out about it first. It gave the hero an edge. Now, Tony Trent, he isn't a reporter. He actually is just reading the news. He's an announcer for the radio. That means he's finding it out at the same time as everybody else.
You stay classy, San Diego. I'm Ron Burgundy.
How did you like that, Babs? I told you I'd get the proof and the truth about those turkeys. 2 panels in a row where he calls the bad guys turkeys. I think he's really proud of that put down. Tony, Grogan will get you for this. He'll kill you. I'm going to pay a flying visit to the orphan asylum to check up on this poisoned turkey food. At Grudge Grogan's sumptuous apartment. When I made you secretary, Melissa, I thought you were capable of taking care of yourself. It was The Face, Grudge. It was horrible. I fainted, and The Face stole the bill of sale that I was going to destroy. All right, so she's not necessarily quite as innocent as I originally assumed. At the same time, how hard is it to destroy a bill of sale? How long were you going to hold on to that thing?
The Face? Gad, you're horrible. Thanks. I see Melissa has fainted for the 2nd time tonight.
Are any of you out there watching this episode in danger of fainting? I know his face is just absolutely horrific. It's green and it has fangs, so If you fainted, I'm sorry. I hope that YouTube doesn't penalize me too badly for it.
I want details, Grogan. What are you doing with the money the taxpayers are giving you for relief? The people on relief are getting only flour and apples.
Thought they were getting poisoned turkeys.
Food! It's going for food, I tell you!
Ho ho! Reinforcements, eh, Grogan? Sort of a guilty conscience, haven't you? Sight of the hideous figure of the face unnerves the gunmen long enough for the face to be upon them.
Good thing to be ugly.
It's starting to feel like the writer of this story had a traumatic experience with a mask, and he might be projecting just a little bit.
I ought to shoot you like the dog you are, Grogan, but I'm going to put you behind bars instead. You bought poisoned meat for the orphans. You gave people on relief flour and apples. But you'll pay for it. I'm going to get proof of what I say.
You already did. His secretary had the bill of sale.
I think Melissa Sanders is the weak link in Grogan's chain. She'll talk if I scare her enough.
Ah, it's good to be home. What's that?
Don't fade again, I beg you. I want some information about Grogan.
Ah! Ah! Go away! Go away, please!
I'll go after you tell me what you know about Grogan's taking money from the poor.
Grogan buys cheap food with relief money and pockets the big part of it himself. He bought those cheap turkeys, which were poisoned turkeys to begin with, for the orphan asylum when all the kids took sick. Where do you buy poisoned turkeys? Apparently they're cheap.
Write your name under that confession note I wrote out for you, and you'll never see me again. This confession of Melissa's ought to make Grogan talk.
Then there's a bunch of pages of the face going around town trying to find Grogan, who clearly went on the run because he understood that this guy was trying to take him down. He eventually finds him on a train.
I got him! Shoot, you fools! No, you don't, Grogan! I have to play this gently.
And then he punches him in the face.
I'll blast you to perdition if you so much as move an eyelid. Now clear out, both of you.
And from there the face just grabs Grogan and walks him to the police station.
This is Grudge Grogan, and this paper is his secretary's confession implicating him with stealing relief funds. I think you'll know what to do with him.
Yeah, sure. My gosh, where did you get that face? And the episode ends with Trent talking about how Grogan went to jail. I've never seen a mask that would make me faint or even freeze in my tracks, so I guess Tony Trent got a good deal on his rubberoid mask before the mask maker conveniently died. Anyway, I've got one more character to talk to you about, and I think it's the best one. He's called the Vagabond, and he lasted a total of 3 stories. It was published by Timely Comics, and the Vagabond was created by Ed Winiarski. Now, if you replied just now, who? To either the artist or the character, that's the correct response. So, let's talk about the utterly forgettable Vagabond. The Vagabond, better known to himself as Chauncey Throttlebomb III, became a one-man blitzkrieg against crime when he invaded Middleton. The story opens in the office of the district attorney. A lot of times I think stories have started too soon and it takes too long to get into the interesting part, but this story already has tons of stuff that I want to know, and we never get explained any of it. Why is he better known to himself by a certain name? Why did he choose the name Chauncey Throttlebottom? That is just a very weird and very memorable name to choose for yourself. We'll get into it. I'm getting ahead of myself, but that is just stunning. Better known to himself. I don't comprehend it.
What? Murdered? Who did you say? Maxie the rodent?
Maxie's body has been found floating in the river. All of his fingers were gone, and his face badly mutilated, but his identification was intact. He was a smuggler dealing with aliens and narcotics, wasn't he? These guys are city attorneys, by the way, and when they say aliens, unfortunately, they're not talking about from outer space. They're talking about illegal immigrants. Mr. District Attorney, Mr. Walter Carstairs of the FBI wishes to see you.
How do you do, Mr. Carstairs? Is there something we can do for you? Yes, you see, I've been investigating some irregularities in the immigration offices and wondered if the death of Maxie the rodent could have any connection.
That is quite a loud suit for an FBI agent. I think the colorist was just having a little bit of fun. Look at that flare with the tie and the handkerchief. This is some bold FBI agent. As you know, he was suspected to be the alien smuggling ring's leader. Yes, we already have that recorded in our files. Well, I'll be on my way. But should anything related to my problem turn up, let me know. Glad you stopped by. That certainly couldn't have been resolved with a phone call. We've got a stiff problem, men. Helping the FBI break this alien smuggling ring. Until it's solved, it's your assignment. So get started. Strolling up the street, Murphy considers the situation. My face is too well known in this town to be of much use to the DA anymore, but there must be some way to catch those crooks off guard. A few days later, a tourist pays a visit to the city of Middleton. We're to believe that it took him days to dress up as a homeless person. Note that on Middleton's welcome sign at the bottom, it specifically calls out "No vagrants allowed." And our hero decided to be a vagabond, also known as a hobo. And yet, if we look at the image of him, that is clearly a clown. I have never seen a homeless person put on face paint and start walking around doing clown maneuvers. We're told that 3 miles outside of the city limits that there is a boat picking up a bunch of people, and one of the henchmen says, "Say, Cap, how will we hide those aliens when we get them to port?" "Leave it to the boss. He's the sly one in this gang. You just worry about being at the hideout tonight when we get our pay. And as long as I'm reminding you of things, remember to look very suspicious." Ashore at the hideout, a member of the gang gives the aliens their instructions. "You stay here until we tell you it's safe enough to go out." "Kelly, it's my hunch that that's the dive." "Yeah, guess you're right. Hope so. My feet are killing me." District attorneys famously do not have access to cars. "Okay, Kelly, let's go in then." "Let's go. I'm raring for action." "Those lawyers, they love putting up them dukes and getting into fights." "They all look suspicious to me." "Let's go over to the bar and see what the bartender can tell us." 2 glasses of milk." "Milk?" "Look, Grogan, here comes Carstairs." "Say, boys, I've uncovered some valuable clues and I need your help." "We're ready. Lead us to them." We've got a pair of milk-drinking lawyers ready to get into a fight, and fortunately, they just happened to bump into the FBI at this bar. This story is nuts. An intruder wanders into the cafe. "Hark ye, where's the proprietor of this den of iniquity?" "Say, bum, what's all the racket? I don't give free drinks, so scram." "I fear you wrong me, my foul fellow. I am Chauncey Throttlebomb III. My funds are low, and I seek employment." "A bindle stiff looking for work. This might be a gag, but I'll fix his wagon." "See those deadbeats? Well, bum, if you can remove them." "A task beneath my social dignity, but alas, duty calls, and I'm off to the wars." "Go get him, Chauncey. I'm rooting for you." "Gentlemen, I am the new caretaker, and the management wishes most earnestly for your immediate departure." "Say, Stinky, do we or don't we?" "We do." "I can't look. Those mugs will moiter da bum." "Brother, will you sleep?" "Gentlemen, I am waiting, and I fear I shall have to use force." So the clown is threatening to throw some guys out of the bar. A guy's sneaking up behind, but in the next panel, he's gone, and the clown is just throwing punches and heaving men over his head. So he's obviously very strong. "Sir, your rubbish has been gently removed. Chauncey Throttlebomb III awaits your further orders." "Brother, you certainly can handle your dukes. The boss will be glad to meet you." Eventually, the FBI and the lawyers find their way into a back room, but they're ambushed by the gang. And then it turns out that Special Agent Carstairs is actually not in the FBI. He's actually Maxie, and he's faked his death and killed the real Carstairs and substituted the credentials. "Say, Maxie, this bloke is Chauncey Throttlebomb III, and..." "Yeah, I know. I saw his work upstairs, and I can use him. But right now, I have to get rid of a couple of snoopers." The gang forces the poor lawyers to jump into a tank of water where I guess they're going to drown because, as he says, As you can see, the rungs of the ladder are sharp as razors. The better to cut off your fingers, eh, what? And how do you manage to hide the aliens? Oh, they're safe in the next room. It's always best to trust a clown that has just joined your gang with the important details of your crimes. Gentlemen, I have heard all, I have seen all, and now to effect a punishment to fit the crime. We then get page after page of the titular Vagabond just absolutely wrecking an entire gang, and they're all armed. That guy ain't human. I'm gonna scram. Desert a sinking ship, will you, you rat? And I guess the Vagabond defeats Maxie because the very next panel cuts back to those poor lawyers trying to get out of the water. They say, look, there's a ladder. Yeah, the one right in front of you that the criminals told you about. Don't touch that ladder if you value your hands. Hold on to this rope, I'll haul you up. With those razor rings, we would have had quite a close shave. You saved our lives, and we sure appreciate it. From there, the Vagabond goes away, and these guys are able to get the entire gang arrested. I'm really not sure if Murphy was a lawyer or possibly a police detective working with the district attorney. Either way, I love that he thinks he's so famous that it's better to dress up as a clown to fight crime. And apparently that worked for 3 stories. I don't know where you go after that before a clown starts being really famous. That's pretty noticeable. These are all pretty weird disguises. A Halloween mask, dressing up as a clown and calling yourself a hobo, and a lady that just dresses up as a witch but calls herself the Spider Widow. Some pretty strange ideas. Honestly though, the Spider Widow one does have really good art. I will definitely give it credit for that. And the face was pretty boilerplate stuff, but I guess the writers ended up coming up with good mysteries. I think that what it ended up taking for a Golden Age comic to succeed was sometimes luck. A good costume, it's important, but also having a stable creative team and having interesting supporting characters and ongoing stories, super important. But there is a little bit of luck there because a lot of these comics, the creators got shipped off to World War II, and when they came back, it was too late. It had been years. That comic that they'd created was over. So, an interesting look back at some strange characters. I hope you have a good Halloween. If you've got a costume, tell me about it in the reply below. Thanks so much, and I'm going to see you real soon. Until then, keep reading comics. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I had fun taking a look at this. I always enjoy looking at some strange Golden Age characters. It's just a very different storytelling style than what we get today. Very condensed and compact, and they were just throwing ideas at the wall to see what would take off. But I want to tell you about something. The show is up for a couple of awards, and I've never had that before, so I'd appreciate it if you would consider voting. It's open to the community because these are the Comic Book Community Awards, which you can find at cbcawards.org. Comic Tropes is up for 2 awards. I'd certainly appreciate your vote. I'm going to be back real soon with another great episode, just one of the best ever, I promise. And if you missed it, by the way, the last episode I made on Osamu Tezuka, apparently YouTube just did not push that notification to a lot of subscribers. So if you didn't get alerted about that, I'm really proud of that episode. I hope you'll check it out. See you next time. Keep reading comics.